Yeah. Funny thing about memories, you don't realize you're living in the golden era until the sun finally goes down. Listen. July heat radiating off the heavy concrete. Fresh white kicks walking down the neighborhood street. 4 young brothers cruising in the borrowed ride. Rolling down the windows, ain't got nothing to hide. Gas was cheap, but the pockets was incredibly light. But 20 in the tank was gonna last us the night. We chased the California sunset down the avenue. No destination, but we had a panoramic view. Every Friday ended by the waters of the bay, plotting on the millions that we gonna make someday. Swearing that no matter where a brother would roam, this little block would forever be home.
The summer we forgot, buried deep in the block, still echoing loud through the tick of the clock.
We thought the golden era was never gonna end, but summer turned the pages on a brother and friend. Yeah. Lives inside the breeze, turning all our visions
into fading memories.
One found love at the summer block party. One got caught up in the neighborhood army. One bought a microphone off the pawn shop shelf. I spent the whole summer trying to find myself. Every Polaroid fading just a little bit more. Still keeping the memories hidden deep in the drawer. That old basketball court behind the public school, where the world was heavy, but the summer was cool. We promised we'd return when the season was clear, but life has a way of switching up the gear. One moved west, one got locked in the pen. One stayed behind, waiting on the summer again. I found a dusty shoebox underneath the bed, 4 faded pictures and a map with the avenue circled in red. 20 years later, I'm taking the drive, praying that the neighborhood is somehow alive. The corner store boarded, the theater is gone, but the roots in the pavement are still standing strong. I parked the car right before the evening came, looking at the concrete carved with our name. That's when the heavy truth was finally understood. We didn't forget the summer in the heart of the hood. We became it, we breathing it, we living the ghosts, carrying the fire from the east to the coast.
The summer we forgot, buried deep in the block, still echoing loud through the tick of the clock.
We thought the golden era
was never gonna end, but summer turned the pages on a brother and friend.
Yeah.
Summer we forgot,
Yeah, it lives inside the breeze, turning all our visions
into fading memories.
Maybe we never forgot it at all. Maybe we were just waiting to remember it together. 2026, we out. We out. Yeah. Funny how the concrete remembers you, even when you barely recognize the reflection. 2026. Listen. Cruising in the drop top, pulling up to the block, same brick wall, standing heavy on the clock. The corner liquor store wearing that faded sign, like somebody hit pause on a totally different time. Miss Carter on the porch looking through the heavy smog, said, boy, it's been a minute since you ran with the dogs. I smiled at the past, but it's feeling brand new. Walking down the same street, different point of view. Young bloods laughing where we used to run the place, shooting on the black top. At the end of the day, for a second I could look into the shadows and see the younger version of a soldier looking right back at me.
Old street, new souls, different stories being told, different paths, different roads, watching how the life unfolds. Time moves on, moving heavy like it goes. Same hometown,
Old street, hey.
new souls.
Same old street, yeah. lights burning low. We stepped out on the grass before I even said hello. A little gray in the beard, but he holding the same grin. Like 20 hard years, they never happened to him. We posted on the steps till the daylight fell, trading street corner stories that we remember so well. About the heavy summer nights and the midnight drives, back when we thought forever fit inside of our lives. We laughed so hard that the heavy silence broke, still finishing the sentences before they spoke. It's funny how the brotherhood is never getting cold, even when the whole city around us is growing old. The avenue didn't change, we did. The skyline stayed the same, we grew. Maybe that's what home really is, a place that waits while the struggle keeps moving. Yeah. Before I hit the gas, I walked one final mile past every single memory and every faded smile. The old palm trees still reaching up to the sky like it never asked the heavy years to pass it by. Touch the concrete where our names were carved deep, a permanent promise that the neighborhood would keep standing there underneath the California glow. I finally understood what a brother had to know. Home ain't frozen in the middle of yesterday. It breathes a little different every time we walk away. The pavement remembers every step we've known, but every single heart comes back fully grown.
Old street, new souls, different stories being told, different paths, different roads, watching how the life unfolds. Time moves on, moving heavy like it goes. Same hometown,
Old street,
new soul.
same old street, yeah. Some places don't ask you to stay, they just remind you where your story began and the man you became. We out. Yeah. I remember them summer nights before the money, before the sirens, when the neighborhood was the whole world. Listen. Yeah. Listen. Back when the neighborhood park was the only spark in the dark. 4 young soldiers leaving a permanent mark. Pegs on the BMX, boombox on the shoulder. Never really thinking about the days getting older. Underneath the faded neon of the corner store sign, we were splitting up the dollar, putting everything on the line. One wanted out the hood, one was chasing the paper, one was dodging the system, catching the midnight vapor. Empty pockets never mattered, we was running the pavement, dodging the heavy traps and the mental enslavement. Laughing through the struggle, wiping sweat from my face, running every alleyway like we was owning the place. The future was a mystery that we was ready to hold, before we learned how fast a young brother grows old.
When we were kings, ruling on the concrete floor, we didn't have much, but we wasn't asking for more. When we were kings, no heavy gold chains, no diamond rings, just 4 young brothers back when we were kings.
Time kept moving like a heavy freight train. Some of us was dodging bullets, some was caught in the rain. One caught a heavy sentence, locked behind the steel. One moved across the map, trying to finally heal. But the old liquor store was standing right where it stood, the same cracked pavement in the heart of the hood. I walked inside, heard somebody calling my name, turned around and the brother was looking the same. A little gray in the beard, a little pain in the eyes, but I could see the young soldier underneath the disguise. We sat down on the curb, letting the hours pass, pouring out a little liquor on the shattered glass. Funny how a faded Polaroid can stop the clock. One look at the picture, and suddenly We back on the block. We drove back out to where the avenues end, the holy ground where you stand with the brother and friend. Names carved deep in the side of the wall, a permanent reminder that we survived through the fall. Nobody counting up the money who had won or had lost, because we already paid the heavy neighborhood costs. But sitting there beneath the California sky, we realized that the brotherhood is never gonna die. The crowns that we wore wasn't given a soul. They was built from the loyalty that never grew old.
Concrete floor, yeah. We didn't have much, but we wasn't asking for more. When we were kings, no heavy gold chains, no diamond rings, just 4 young brothers.
Back
when we were kings.
Some people spend their whole lives chasing the paper, chasing the shine. But we already had the greatest wealth. Brotherhood, we out. We out. Yeah. Rain washing down on the boulevard. Crazy how one phone call can wait 20 years just to heal a broken soul. Listen. Heavy rain falling down on the asphalt street, faded neon glowing on the pavement at my feet. Bus running late, nowhere left for me to go. Then I saw a rusty memory from long ago. A cracked payphone booth standing by the corner store, surviving every storm like the brothers in the war. An old newspaper blowing in the alley full of rust. Headline reading city taking payphones to dust. I laughed to myself, thought nobody caused no more from a dime slot relic in the middle of a war. But I stepped inside, wiping water off the glass, reaching in my pocket for a token from the past.
The last payphone, dialing through the pain. One final ring, echoing inside the heavy rain. One familiar voice calling from across the years, washing out the distance and erasing all the
Pulled a photo piece of paper out my leather coat seam. My number rang dial since I was 17. My hands were shaking cold, dropping quarters in the slot, listening to the dial tone, stomach in the knot. Then I heard a soft hello, cutting through the noise. Older and wiser, but I recognized the voice. She laughed before I even had the chance to say my name. Said I knew you called back when you got tired of the game. 20 years of sorrow disappeared just like smoke. Two heavy hearts finally letting go the choke. No pride, no blame, just two survivors in the dark, finding a second chance to rekindle the spark. Some conversations don't ever really end. They just wait until the soul is ready to speak the truth. Next Sunday afternoon, underneath the autumn sky, she was standing by the waters where the avenue lies. A little gray in the hair, but the same warm smile. Like 20 hard years was only just a mile. We walked down the block till the daylight faded low, talking about the fallen soldiers that we used to know. Some dreams changed, some survived through the pain, but standing by her side made me whole again. Cruising off together as the sun was turning red, saw the city workers pulling out the booth that was dead. One last call, one last chance at release, just enough to turn the chaos into peace.
The last payphone, dialing through the pain. One final ring, echoing inside the heavy rain. One familiar voice calling from across the years, washing out the distance and erasing all the tears.
Corner is gone now, but every time my cellular rings, I remember where the healing started. The last payphone, we out. Yeah. highways take you deeper into the storm, and some exits give you a second chance at life. Take the turn. Yeah. Yeah. Northbound interstate, moving fast just after dawn. Coffee in the paper cup, vintage leather jacket on. My brother reached inside the glove box, pulled a photograph, black and white image of our pops doing his faded laugh. Standing by an old Chevy truck down by the Pacific shore, writing on the back, "One day, we ain't gonna bleed no more. I'm gonna take my boys away from all the siren wails." Years roll by like painted lines, trapped inside the ghetto jails. Always saying next time, bills and the pressure stack, promises fading out, caught up in the street attack. Exit, don't you drive on past. Some off ramps only give a brother one last chance. The last exit, take that sudden turn. Some promises are worth every single mile you burn. The green sign appeared beneath the heavy morning sky, almost past the off-ramp before it caught my brother's eye. He looked at me, didn't say a word, just hit the wheel, taking the sharp turn, breaking out of the concrete steel. Gravel under tires, ocean breeze hitting through the glass, leaving the sirens and the violence in the distant past. Found the old wooden pier standing right beside the waves, just like the picture in the photo that our daddy saved. No police lights, no block corners, no heavy stress, just quiet water shining bright, clearing out the mess. Funny how the peace we spent our whole lives searching for was waiting at the end of the road the whole time. We left Dad's photo on the weathered wooden bench, pouring out a little liquor, letting all the sorrow quench. Sat there watching daylight fall into the ocean blue, listening to the silence, knowing all the words were true. On the drive back south, neither one of us spoke a word. Sometimes the deepest healing is the kind that ain't heard. The highway was the same, but the heavyweight was gone. Two brothers riding home to face a brand new dawn. Don't you drive on past. Some off ramps only give a brother one last chance. The last exit, take that sudden turn. Some promises are worth every single mile you burn. Not every destination is marked on a street map. Some live inside a promise made a long time ago. We out.